Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot with Melrose. This post is the Tarot portion, the second half of my daily astrology read, which you can find over on my other channel called Astrology Today with Melrose. The idea here is to provide some further intuitive insight into the current vibes based on the day's astrological aspects. First, I'll discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page. Then I'll do another quick rundown of today's astrology before throwing a random card that speaks to the day's energies. So let's go ahead and get into it. The tarot card that sits on the side of the page right now is the Nine of Swords, and that relates astrologically to the second 10 days of the sun's transit through Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Swords are the air of the tarot, so there's a connection there. And air is very much about our thoughts, our plans, our communications, and how we use them, how we use our thoughts and words, how we use the plans that we make. And in the Nine of Swords, you see a person who's in a position of probably deep anxiety, trouble in mind, it comes to mind. And, clearly this person is sitting up in bed, they are losing some sleep, they're experiencing some distress, perhaps even a headache. And you see the way, it's not meant to be literal, it's meant to be figurative, but you see the way these swords sort of go through the head and the heart here. This is a painful condition to be in. And what it says is that someone is trapped in a loop of negative thinking. Sometimes, something terrible happens, or we have a bad idea that something terrible has happened, and we kind of compound one negative thought with the next negative thought with the next negative thought, and before you know it, you're just kind of stuck, and you can't find a way out to try to think something better, to try to reframe the story. So that can be a really difficult way to be, but understand that part of this distress comes from overanalysis of things that we probably don't have a lot of control over. So if you're losing sleep, or if you are suffering from mental anguish due to something that you can't really do very much about, especially often if you're losing sleep in the middle of the night, the middle of the night is no time to get things done most of the time. The advice is to remember to take care of yourself. And from my perspective, being a massage therapist, I always tell people, get back to taking care of the body. So if we can't sleep, if we're restless, perhaps we need to get up and do something physical, go take a little walk, or, at least go and distract our mind in such a way that our brain will not stay wrapped around the loop on this negative thing. Find a book to read, find a show to watch, find something else to focus your attention on. See if you can sort of take your brain back, okay? And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle some cards while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Gemini. And when the sun is in Gemini, we're all about sharing information. There's a lot of information coming in. We're interested in the new ideas, the new styles, the new trends, right? And we want to make use of that information for ourselves. So, it's very much about taking in data, having conversations, sharing ideas with others, and then sort of pulling them together in our own way to express them in our own special creative way. And the moon is a waxing crescent. It'll be a first quarter moon in a couple of days here. Starting out, it'll be in Leo all day today, and it moves into Virgo early tomorrow morning. So waxing crescent moon in Leo. Waxing crescent is a time of increase when we're laying our plans, setting our intentions, thinking about the future and the goals that we would like to reach. And Leo is about shining. Leo is ruled by the sun, so in the heart and home, we really want to do this very nurturing, sun-shining thing where we sort of give our best to the people around us so that they can benefit from it. And Leo can be a little bit Leo can be very attractive. Like Leo wants to be noticed as they're as they're doing their sunshine thing, as we are doing our sunshine thing for in the heart, from the heart and in the home. We want to be noticed for it, but really it's just about engendering growth and productivity in those around us. On the moon side of the page today, we have a couple of challenging aspects here. The moon goes in opposition to Saturn this afternoon around 4, and Saturn is retrograde. So to me, that says we're feeling that Saturn retrograde in the heart and home. We're feeling that sort of slow down and that need to review, that sense of what is secure for us, that sense of what is tried and true for us. And that can be a little conflicting of a feeling, especially if you're used to moving at a certain pace or just having things in a certain way, and now they're maybe not quite so much in the same way, or they are in the same way, but now we're conflicted about whether that's working for us, right? And then moon goes square to Mercury. That's void of course moon. It's the last one it makes in the sign of Leo, and last aspect it makes in the sign of Leo. And moon square to Mercury, says there's a potential for disagreements to arise. We may feel like we want to express ourselves, but that challenging aspect comes in and says there's a little bit of something off here that may cause our communications, the way we're using our thoughts and plans, cause somebody else a little stress and anxiety. So, communicate to the best of your ability. Mercury is direct right now. And squares are not meant to stop us. They're meant to actually kind of spur us forward. So have an important conversation if you need to, but understand that the person you're talking to may not fully agree with you. There might be something that needs to be worked out there. And then we have this nice 7 hours void of course between 6 in the evening and 1 in the morning, and so that takes us all the way across through to midnight. I often recommend spell work and ritual on days when we have the void of course that spans midnight, because that is the witching hour. A lot of people stay up late to do their best ritual work. But the void of course in general is just a good time to get into your creative and intuitive practices, whatever it is, journaling, meditation, using your tarot cards, drawing pictures, using the I Ching, whatever it is that you use to have those, to quiet the mind and to have those important conversations with yourself and with spirit about any problems that might be coming up for you, so that you have an idea from within how you're going to move forward. And then if you're going to do any ritual or spell work, it should probably be about increase. This is the moon's movement, and it's about the heart and home, what's coming up from within. So or what's happening on the inside. So at this time the moon is increasing. I would make all of my ritual and spell work about the increase of my plans that I hope to see. And then the moon moves into Virgo early tomorrow morning at 1:22. Moon in Virgo, we go into problem solving mode. We're able to help heal wounds. We really just want to set things right in the world, especially in the heart and home. And then on the sun side of the page, we're still blessed with insight on this Mercury trine Pluto. This is the gift that keeps on giving. It's been with us probably for about a month, I think, and will be with us through June 19th. So we still have over a week left of this beautiful blessing. So this is saying sort of what comes up is going to come out. Pluto is the planet that sort of represents the shadow or the subconscious, the things that go on in our hearts and minds that we're not necessarily all aware of, but they're often expressed as fears and insecurities. They can come out in behavior that sort of displays our fear or insecurity, especially at a time when we're really trying not to show that. That's the way Pluto works. But Mercury is direct now, and in this trine position, it's like we're being given this direct view into the subconscious. So when those things come up, when that subconscious or that shadow stuff arises and wants our attention, Mercury says, I see it and I understand it. And I think that I could, help us gain some some conscious clarity about the fears and insecurities that are coming up at this time. And that trine energy is just like a blessing, saying, yes, you can do this, you can have that insight, you can work with it, and you can create positive change out of it. In fact, you are protected and blessed in your efforts to do that. And also, Pluto is retrograde through October 8th. Saturn is retrograde through October 22. We're going to start seeing especially bigger planets go retrograde. Mars is going to have a retrograde this year, so that should be very interesting. But sticking to what's on the page right now, Pluto retrograde. Pluto is about those deep and total changes, those transformations and evolutions that we make. They kind of come about slowly, but then they can kind of happen in the blink of an eye. And when it's retrograde, that energy is turned toward our insides, not necessarily toward what's happening outside in the world, but toward what's happening inside, again, with our subconscious, with our shadow self. And so be looking for Mercury trine those transformations. You've got this really blessed ability to see where your endings and beginnings are coming in right now, so I would say go for that. And then Saturn is retrograde through October 22, and Saturn retrograde really is that turns another sort of consideration inward toward the self, and that is about what is traditional, what is tried and true. Saturn likes to do what works, okay? And because it does what works, it builds strength in our sense of stability. It builds strength in our sense of what is foundational to our lives. So now we're talking about what is foundational to our stability, for our inner life. And there's the question is being called, like, the things that are foundational to my stability, are they really, the stuff that I rely on to help me feel safe and secure? Is it really helping me feel safe and secure, or is it just something that I've come to rely on? Saturn is going to ask you those questions and probably bring about some slowdown in the way we do things so that we can give it further consideration. And with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this card. Oh, friends, we got the Lovers. I love the Lovers. So, the Lovers are a bonded pair with a deep soul connection. And I hope for everyone's sake that you have something like this in your life, or that you have experienced something like this in your life. If it's something that you desire, to have that deep, loving bond with somebody who sees you and knows you and understands you and tries to help you, and who's interested in you having a good experience. That's what the Lovers is about. But it comes with a warning. There's a sort of a Garden of Eden feel to the Lovers, because there's a matter of temptation coming up. So we have to remember. This is interesting. It's really making me think of that Mercury trine Pluto, almost as though we fall in love with ourselves and we're able to see deeply into our own eyes and become very interested in our own experience, right? There's a matter of temptation about the Lovers that says, when you are deeply involved with somebody, when you create that bond and you feel that very strong attraction to somebody, sometimes we just decide not to pay as close attention to the other things that are important in our lives, right? Sometimes we'll just decide, I'm not going to work today. I'm going to stay home with my lover, right? Or I'm not going to take care of that responsibility. Or I was supposed to see my family today, but I've decided I'm just going to stay home with my lover. I'm going to do something with my lover, right? Because you're with this person. It feels so good and fulfilling to have them looking at you and seeing you and appreciating you all the time, that it seems like those other things are not as important. But if they were important before, they're important now. So don't allow yourself to be distracted from the things you have dedicated yourself to doing out in your life in the world, especially not because you've fallen in love with somebody. If you really have this kind of bond with someone, then they will respect and honor the fact that you need to go take care of your other responsibilities, go attend your other relationships, that kind of thing. So I do see this sort of reflecting this this inward looking, though, this sort of yeah, falling in love with ourselves, or just getting really interested in our experience and what's coming up, our own experience and what's coming up for us, and how we can support ourselves and appreciate ourselves as we go through these changes. There's a stronger bond coming into the self. And I mean, I think that's beautiful. I see that very clearly. Mercury trine Pluto, that trine energy is very much a blessed energy. When you fall deeply in love with somebody, you feel like, perhaps the gods have seen you and you've been blessed with something, some actual, extra blessing or boon in your life. So, whether you are taking that to mean that you're madly in love with somebody, and that's really good. Uh, you know, don't forget to not allow yourself to be so distracted by that relationship that you let other things fall by the wayside. But if you're choosing to see this in terms of like creating a deeper bond with a self, becoming a little more interested in what your experience is, seeing what's coming up in terms of your fears of insecurity, and doing what you can to help yourself feel better about it, right? Giving yourself that attention, and that appreciation that will help you, um, grow and feel more whole and feel more beautifully like yourself. Again, that's important work, and don't allow it to distract you from taking care of the other things that you're dedicated to doing. Now, Saturn retrograde is sitting here saying, are you really dedicated to doing all the things you said you were dedicated to doing, right? So there's a lot of question asking going on here. There's a lot of insight being put on the page here. So just keep that in mind. Taken together with the Nine of Swords, sometimes it's our lover who can cause us the greatest deal of pain, especially like mental anguish, or that pain that you get in your heart when things are not going well. This is sort of like this person is by themselves and these people are together facing one another. So, I mean, that's a pretty obvious thing to see. But what it tells me, again, is that, when you don't have that person, whether they were there and now they're not, or they are there but they're not behaving like the lover, or if you just wish you had that person, you don't even know who they are yet, that can cause a lot of anguish in the mind and in the heart. And that can be a very difficult way to be, but it's important to remember, again, to pay attention to your experience, to want to have the best experience for yourself, to love yourself enough to be interested in how things are going for you. So this kind of comes back for me to the fact that there are two of us in here, right? There's the person who says the words and makes the plans and has the experiences, and then there's like the second person there who is just observing everything that we do. We need to sometimes pull back into that observer mode, especially if we're experiencing a great deal of anxiety or anguish over something. We need to pull back into that observer mode and ask ourselves, like, how are we feeling about this? Do we like feeling this way? No, we don't like feeling this way. Okay, so what can we do to help ourselves? We have to become more interested in what the experience is like for us, okay? Because if we're not interested in what the experience is like, then this can happen very easily, and it can be very hard to extract yourself from. You have to really be thinking about the experience that you're having and saying, I don't want to have this experience. I want to have a different experience. I want to nurture myself. I want to nourish myself. I want to give myself beautiful experiences. So if you find yourself in a place of deep mental anguish, and you don't think that you can just take your own brain back by getting some activity in, or reading a book, or doing something else that will distract your brain and hopefully help you pay attention to something else, always reach out to a friend, okay? Always reach out to somebody who will listen to you, who will hear you out, and who doesn't want you to be miserable. But I'm also going to say that if you are in this frame of mind where you are overly anxious, where you are very upset about something, where you cannot stop having the negative thought loop, now is not the time actually to go out looking for a lover. Now is the time to work on loving the self and taking care of the self. And I believe that's all I have to say about it, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you so much for being here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here for more astrology today and tarot tomorrow.